Welcome back to my 3-part mini-series between arcs 4 and 5 of W.I.T.C.H, the comic series. So this time we will be looking at W.I.T.C.H special issue titled 5 W.I.T.C.H, and also I've seen it referred to as Core of Kandrakar. And this takes place between chapters 36 and 37 of the comic, which means it's going to take place between arcs 2 and 3. We begin seeing the Oracle feeling worried. He says he rarely feels worried. He stands in a pool for one panel before continuing to walk around the fortress. It's almost like he glitched into the water. He finds his way to the room of the Ormirs, the girls' power source. He thinks to himself that a test is coming for the girls. We find the girls at Irma's house while her family has a cookout. Her father is having trouble lighting the grill. Jokingly, the girls muse on the idea of being able to switch powers, and how cool it would be. Will waves her hand, pretending to call on the power of fire, and it happens, much to her shock. The girls immediately think to go to Kandrakar for answers. We see some of Tirani's first sour feelings toward the Oracle, saying he is a specialist in secrets and meddling in lives. The Oracle is honored they have come by choice, and they are nervous to speak. After all, they're here to question why they have the element that they do, that they sometimes wonder about trying the others. Irma makes a joke that water ruins her hairstyle. He tells them it's time for a test to see who truly belongs to each element. All except for Will's Ormirs go gray. According to the Oracle, Will's position was never in question, but destiny. The rest of the girls are to be sent off to their tests. Will says she will not abandon them and also enters the chamber with the group. To begin, they must go to the Passage of Memories. Irma makes fun of the strange names of Kandrakar. This strange object here starts to glow and opens up into a mini-map, a lot like the one for the castle in Breath of the Wild, where they see tiny versions of themselves as a "You Are Here" marker. They begin to wander the fortress, and like them, I marvel at its beauty. The Passage of Memories is a tower with a small walkway that ends in a platform suspended high up. A voice begins to speak. It's the fortress, saying, "These are many voices speaking as one." The voice asks what they know about the guardians before them, and if they know what Kandrakar is. Will starts to recite the legend of the 4 dragons and the nymph Zinjing. Remember, the original story is that there were 4 dragons wanted to help the people, and the emperor was starving them. So the dragons went ahead and helped the people anyway, and the emperor was mad at them and imprisoned them, but Zinjing set them free and became the crystal with them. The fortress stops her and says this is just a legend, but that it has some truth. Ghostly figures begin to soar on the girls. The fortress says these beings are nymphs from the beginning of time. Zinjing of the elements, Onid of life, Taya of the sun, Ebla of the moon, and Nahala of the stars. 5 beings that watched over the universe. The story then goes that a negative energy brought hatred and violence, and harmony was broken. Thus, they created Kandrakar with Nahala, the nymph of the stars, as the first oracle, now bald. Wise ones and scientists were gathered from each world, creating the congregation. Nahala decided to create the guardians, described as beings to bring Kandrakar's justice where needed. Will, Cornelia, and Tirani look a bit uncomfortable at this. The walls are lined with artwork of faces. These are the past guardians. In the beginning, there were 2 to control the elements, but at some point, 3 were needed, then 4, before Nahala decided 5 guardians were a good number. The voices clarify that what happened with Nerissa didn't change that decision, obviously considering we have 5 guardians in W.I.T.C.H. Irma sweetly says Will is proof of a group of 5 working well. The voice goes on to say that no other guardians in history have tried to swap powers like this, but since the Oracle has given permission, they can. Tirani is annoyed they would need permission. Interestingly, the mural image of our group doesn't show Tirani. The voice asks what power Irma would want. She says fire, for something drier, but also jokes about being able to light her father's barbecue faster. The group glares. Tirani asks for air, Haylin for earth, and Cornelia for water, thinking of how she cannot swim. But first, they must be tested. Tirani and Cornelia are sent to what is called the Tower of Ice. They appear before a large ornate door. They enter, and the wind blows icy cold. Will notices the murals around her change to show what the girls are up to. The voices say that no one has ever made it out. Interesting that they are the first to try this test. So who else did this? Tarani nearly slips to her doom. She's not yet able to fly, as an air guardian should, and the wind refuses to listen to her. Sharp ice crystals start flying at them. Irma and Heylin are sent to what is known as the park. They at first think it's going to be, well, a walk in the park, but Irma soon sees a scary face in her reflection in the water. At first, also, it looks like Heylin is attacking her before we see Heylin trapped. Irma lets loose a flaming blast, but she cannot take the monster down. The voice tells Will they've made a mistake and that the elements will destroy them. Will is defiant. She's going to help, but she must choose which group to help first. She leaps. Will has chosen Irma and Heylin. Will summons the heart and calls the elements back, causing the monster to drop them. She quickly gives the powers back to the girls. Heylin blasts the creature, but only gives it flowers. Irma suggests the monster be turned to straw. After this, she starts to let her anger take over. She begins building a large ball of fire. Will stops her and shows her such rage is not necessary. That this creature can now, as straw, be blown away, and somehow she uses air to do this. With determination, they go back to the Passage of Memories and leap into Cornelia and Tarani's mural. As they are still being battered by ice, Tarani is struggling to shield them. Cornelia suddenly remembers something. That ice is solid water, and makes a hole in the wall. The tower begins crumbling. Cornelia calls for Will. Gargoyles atop the tower come alive. The tower crumbles more. They all yell to Tarani that she must fly, but she can't seem to overcome her fear. Will begins to feel guilty. They aren't comfortable with their powers. If they get hurt, it's her fault. They begin to fall. Tarani has a look of ferocity and calls upon her element, a fire, and takes out the gargoyle. They believe their original elements have returned. Will says maybe they were never even gone. Heylin takes Will and Irma and soars. They unite, but the tower is still crumbling. They form a barrier. Light surrounds them, and they seem to be in pure joy. A ribbon of fire and earth forge the metal band of the heart. A gust of wind pulls up a wave that crystallizes in the crystal form we all love. They have reforged the heart of Kandrakar. Will looks to her reflection with determination. The narration states that through these tests, the girls have proven themselves as the chosen ones. The oracle stands before them. He says, in their most difficult moment, their true powers were found within. Tarani looks annoyed, and Irma says questioningly, all that trouble to keep our original powers? They say that they do feel more comfortable with their elements now. The oracle says that you cannot escape destiny, and their aura mirrors shine again. He says he is glad to count on 5 guardians like them. Irma says he probably says that to everyone. He says they'll never know, and zaps them back home. They believe that Irma's dad actually lit the grill and it was not Will. So I have a couple interesting thoughts on this particular special. It's interesting that there wasn't always 5 guardians, 1 per element. That means that at some point when there was 2 guardians, there was possibly a split of 2 and 3 or 1 and 4. It's unclear how that was broken down. And for example, when it was split between 3 people, was it 1 person holds the heart and the other 2 hold 2 elements? It's an interesting thought. So it's clear that Will, being the holder of the heart of Kandrakar, is some kind of destiny that was hinted at in Arc 2, which I'm going to have a theory on this at some point. Part of me has a bit of a headcanon that it was a potential in this moment for Will to become the sole holder of all of the elements, and we saw her use wind. I'm almost wondering if the elements wanted to see if being within 1 person was possible, but in the moment that Will feels guilty and that this is all her fault, she wants to protect the others, and I think inadvertently gives them back their elements in that moment. Maybe that's why she felt the elements never left, because maybe they were within Will all along and she could just feel that. I'm not quite sure, but I will delve deeper into a theory like this at some point in the future. Otherwise, this was an interesting special. I love when we get lore of Kandrakar. It's always entertaining, and I love seeing the beautiful fortress. That's it for this mini-sode. Catch you next time for the special on Arube.